Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not the type of brother to play with. See a lot of people acting like, oh yeah. All ball players sounding like haters. We the young kings of this generation, oh yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on Pitch Side with Parker. Happy Monday. Hope the weekend went well. Today I'm gonna be trying a new type of video that I hope to kind of establish as a running series on this channel. Basically a Monday video kind of recapping what I watched over the weekend, or at least for now, probably more so what I liked in the last week. Kind of just a weekly thing that you can count on every single week. I can post one of these on a Monday and just talk about what I've been watching and what's been catching my eye. So I'm excited to get this going, but I do have a couple things to say before I get into the video. First, make sure you're following me on Twitter. I haven't mentioned it in a couple of videos, but that is kind of the best way to connect with me. It's really the only social media I'm very active on, but I'm always on there. I feel like sometimes I even reply to tweets faster than I reply to text messages. So if you have any thoughts on the video, if you want to interact or just see what I'm talking about, Twitter is the best way to connect. So definitely give me a follow. And if you were a follower on Twitter, you probably would have seen this already. But the next thing I wanted to mention is I got to go on the Layoff podcast this week. Shout out to Isaac and Henry Bushnell for putting that together. Henry's a reporter with Yahoo Sports, and he covers the U.S. national team and a lot of various other sports topics as well, but definitely a bright mind in the world of soccer. And so we got together with him and Isaac, one of my friends from school, and Noah Stack, another Arsenal fan, and we kind of did a long form piece talking about the demise of Arsenal. And I definitely got to talk a lot about kind of my history as an Arsenal fan and kind of my feelings about the club on the whole. So if you're an Arsenal fan who watches kind of for the Arsenal content, highly recommend it. I'm going to put a link to that podcast in the description. Definitely be sure to check that out. It's pretty long, but as I said, definitely worth a listen. And shout out to Henry and Isaac for having me on the podcast. And finally, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I usually say it at the end of the videos, but I did want to mention it up front because we just hit 25 subscribers, and at 50 subs, I'm going to do a giveaway on the channel. So if you're one of those people that this is the first video you're coming across, or you've been watching the videos but you're not subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications, because when we get to 50, I'm going to do a giveaway. And obviously, because there will be only 50 subscribers, you'll have a very good chance of winning. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and come along for the ride. And I appreciate all of you that have already subscribed. All right, so let's get into it. And I'm going to start with Arsenal this week, because it's been a great week as an Arsenal fan. There was the 4-0 win against Norwich on Wednesday, and that game was really nice to see, because even though Norwich is really in the gutter right now, Arsenal hasn't really firmly defeated a team like that in a while. And so that was good to watch. And then in the following days, Bukayo Saka signs a contract. Gabriel Martinelli signs a long-term contract. And those were two of the club's brightest players this season. So to see them locked up for the future, it was really made me happy as an Arsenal fan. Hopefully Aubameyang is next, but you know, I'm not going to get a little too excited. But in any case, it was a good week leading up to the game against Wolves. And then as that game approached, I was thinking, wow, this is a big test for Arsenal. It's a team that's hard to break down, and it's a team that is vicious on the counter and has the ability to expose all the things that Arsenal is relatively weak at. I was very impressed by the Arsenal performance. To get a clean sheet at Molineux, very impressive. I think the last team to score there was Liverpool, and that was in January. So that is a very tough place to get an away win. The opening goal, I mean, Bukayo Saka. I've been trying to tell y'all about this guy. I really have. He has been my favorite player to watch this season in an Arsenal shirt, and he showed it why again in this game. Nico Pepe was out. His wife was giving birth to a child, and Saka steps in and plays right wing, one of the few positions he hasn't played this season for Arsenal, and he did a great job. And they got the ball coming in from Kieran Tierney, and he just laced it. Looked like prime Zidane out there, just tucking a volley away right into the corner to give Arsenal the lead in the first half. And then in the second half, Arsenal was able to really shore up shop. They locked down defensively, and they did a really good job holding Wolves to no goals. It proved to be a big step forward for Arsenal, because game management is a place that Arsenal has lacked for a long time. The last few years under Arsene Wenger, people got really tired of him because it felt like he was using the same tactics every game. He wouldn't adjust to the opponent. And sometimes it would really lead to bad results for Arsenal. And then Emery, game tactics were out the window. He tried to do something different every single week. There was no pattern. You had no idea what he was trying to do. He certainly wasn't there in that category either. And at times, Mikel Arteta, in the beginning, made a lot of questionable subs. The lineups were a little iffy. But now you can see he's really starting to get this system in place. And they've been playing 3 at the back the past few games. Shutouts in the last 3 Premier League games. 4 wins on the trot. And it just seems like things are meshing a little bit. The back 3, Shkodran Mustafi, David Luiz, and Sead Kolasinac. Tell me any other manager in the league is getting a shutout with that back 3. I don't think so. A lot of the credit goes to the wingbacks as well. Tierney and Cedric Suarez on either side did a great job kind of neutralizing the wide players for Wolves. And especially Tierney and then Maitland-Niles when he came on in the game really were able to neutralize Adama Traore to an extent that a lot of teams have not been able to do this year. So I was bewildered. But it was wonderful to see as an Arsenal fan, and it left me feeling in a very positive place. Even Lacazette scored. He was in dire need of a goal, and to get an away goal at that, and a beautiful goal at that. I mean, the turn and the finish from Lacazette, just instinctual, and that's the type of thing that he can bring to the team when he's on form. So I was really happy with Lacazette. And all around, that game just gave me a lot of confidence as an Arsenal fan. So a lot of tough fixtures coming up for Arsenal. They've got Leicester next. Tottenham is the game after that. Who knows what that rivalry will look like without fans there, but that's always going to be a tough game. Got Man City in the Cup. Liverpool is coming up as well, although they've looked a little shaky recently. So this is a big run for Arsenal. It's going to show a lot about this team. But if the game against Wolves was any indicator, they're moving in the right direction. And I am feeling very, very positive as an Arsenal fan. All right, so that's enough about the Gunners. Let's talk about the NWSL. I mentioned before I was definitely going to try to keep making videos about the Challenge Cup. And shout out to everybody who watched the last video. But there's been some surprises for sure from what people were expecting, including myself, heading into the tournament. The one thing that's not been a surprise, North Carolina Courage. 3-0 now. I'm recording this on Sunday, so they won this morning against Chicago Red Stars. You know, coming into the tournament, they're expected to be great. They've looked very good so far, and I think for now they're still certainly the favorites. But below North Carolina, there's been a lot of surprises, I would have to say. Given their performance today, Chicago Red Stars has actually looked pretty good without Sam Kerr. They seem to be pretty solid as a unit, and they've been able to come together. Although the goals haven't really been there, the defensive efforts have been really good. And as a Northwestern fan, 2 games ago when they started the completely rotated lineup and Kayla Sharples and Hannah Davison got the start and ended up getting the shutout, I was so happy to see that. I know for the fellow Northwestern people out there, you know, we loved watching those two at Northwestern for the past 4 years, and to see them go out there and get a shutout was super cool. So shout out to them, and hopefully they can get some more playing time throughout the tournament, because I think they proved that they can do it at the highest level against some really good players as well. But the biggest surprise of the tournament so far has been the Houston Dash. I said in my preview that Portland Thorns would be a team that I'm rooting for, that I have some interest with Red Stars and with North Carolina Courage. But I think I might have to be a Houston Dash fan now. I mean, they have been playing some really fun soccer, and it's a bit direct. It's very heavy on the counterattack. It's fast, it's pressing, and it's not always the most beautiful to watch, but they are ruthless when they get the ball. Rachel Daly has been kind of the star of the tournament, I would have to say. She's been outstanding as the main forward for them. Shea Groom has made some really incredible plays as well. I think she scored the best goal of the tournament in their first game in the 3-3 draw with Utah Royals. And then in the last game, she had the little flick around the corner where Christy Mua scored the goal. And they've just played some beautiful goals, some beautiful soccer. And I have to say, I'm quite a fan, because a lot of teams have really taken this approach of let's play a lot of different players. Let's work on these tactics that maybe we haven't really used before, but we want to get better at it. And I see the value in that. You know, it's definitely a long-term approach, and it's a way to make your team better and kind of gel as a unit. But for some of the teams, it hasn't looked very good. I'm looking at you, OL Reign. I'm looking at you, Portland Thorns. But they even said before the tournament that that's kind of what their goal was. And you have to respect Houston Dash, because they went in and said, we want to win right now. We want to play as hard as we can for 90 minutes and try to get a dub. And it's that simple. Houston Dash they're looking like one of the most fun teams in the tournament. So if you're looking for a team to root for, a little bit of an underdog story, but still that ambitious style and that win now attitude, I think Houston Dash would definitely be a team to watch going forward. One more thing I'll talk about with the NWSL has been kind of all the stories and headlines around the national anthem, players deciding to kneel, not kneel, the reaction from the league saying that players could stay in the locker room if they wanted rather than coming out for the anthem. I just think it's all been handled very poorly, both by the league and by the media. It was something that you could see coming a mile away. And I saw people talking about it way before the games even started of, if they play the national anthem, this is going to steal the headlines. Because there's players that are going to kneel, and national outlets run with those type of stories like wildfire. And it's really unfortunate because it takes so much attention away from the game actually being played on the field. And this should be an opportunity for the NWSL to show the talent that this league has and show the competitiveness and showcase a lot of top players, because especially with the US stars that are out, this is a chance for a lot of players to make names of themselves. And a lot of players have gone a long way in doing that already. But all the attention, especially nationally, that's been given to the anthem protests, the Black Lives Matter stuff that they've been working on, obviously all these things are intended with a good message. But at the same time, some of it is very clearly designed to gain headlines and take away from the field and just gain attention. And I just don't really think that's very fair to the players. And it's kind of been pimped out a little bit. Every day, every time before the game starts, they zoom in on the black players who are kneeling and like really expose them. And they're like, it just feels so uncomfortable, and it feels exploitative by the NWSL and by the producers who are actually making these broadcasts. And I did just want to at least speak on that and say that that's why I haven't really talked about it. If you follow me on Twitter, I haven't really tweeted anything about it. I try to just tweet about the games because I feel like this has all been designed to kind of distract and to make the only headlines about this women's sport coming back that there's national anthem protests. And nobody's talking about the play on the field. And so I'm just going to continue talking about the play on the field, but now you know my opinion on that, and I'll kind of leave it at that. All right, so a few other quick hitters. Definitely been watching a lot of soccer this week, so plenty more to talk about besides Arsenal and the NWSL. Those have just been the main things for me. But let's hit a couple other headlines. First one, Liverpool getting thrashed by Man City 4-0. Now, I know a lot of Liverpool fans, they all say, it was whatever, the players were still drunk, they got the guard of honor, whatever. But let's be honest, Liverpool fans. I know that one hurt a little bit. I know it did. This is your biggest rival. This is your direct rival. And if you want to be put on the platform of the greatest teams ever, you should be stomping them out regardless of if you have already won the league. The Invincibles won the league with 4 games to spare, and they didn't drop any points to end the year. They still ended invincible. I think if this team had a little more about them, I think they would have put a better performance out against City. And I can't really blame them. I don't think it's like by any means an indictment of this Liverpool team, but to me, that does prevent them from being in the upper echelon of the best teams ever. And that's the conversation that this team wants to be in. And ultimately, the way that they've fallen out of the other cup competitions toward the end of the season, and the way that this game went against their most direct rival and against the team that beat them last year in the league, and I'm sure they were still salty about that, to go out there and just get their ass handed to them, pretty embarrassing look for Liverpool. And as much as it really doesn't matter, I'm sure that meant a lot to Man City, and it probably felt pretty good for them as they tune up towards a run in the Champions League. And speaking of the city of Manchester United are on another level right now. They have hit some serious form. And this front five, if you will, of Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Martial, Rashford, and Mason Greenwood, it is just hitting different. I mean, this feels like the old United, the great United, the United that a lot of people miss. And as an Arsenal fan, I don't miss it at all. I am terrified of this United coming back. I mean, they are starting to play with that swagger that Manchester United used to carry. And it's a real scary thing because I think people knew for the most part, like, okay, once all these people come together, once Pogba gets healthy, once Greenwood's had a little more time to develop, Now that they've signed Bruno Fernandes, you could tell that the pieces were there, but it's just that so many times it doesn't work out like that on paper. I was saying to a friend, it feels like every summer how Arsenal fans are, you hear that Arsenal's going after a certain target, and then you think, oh, if we put this exact lineup out on the field, they could just smash people. And then it never really works out like that. But it certainly worked out for United, and it seems like the linchpin has really been Bruno Fernandes. As great as those others have been, Bruno Fernandes, ever since coming in, United has the most points in the Premier League ever since his addition to the team. So he's really been pulling the strings, and then obviously the addition of Pogba has been huge. And Greenwood, man, he is outrageously good. The 2 goals that he scored the other day were just wonderful against Bournemouth. 1 on each foot, and the 2-footedness is just so special to watch, because when he doesn't move, when he has you one-on-one, he can go either way and finish equally well on both sides. So he's really just an outstanding talent, and that young English line that's coming through, Bukayo Saka, Mason Greenwood, Phil Foden, even still, Rashford is very young. Sterling is pretty young. You're looking at James Maddison, Jack Grealish. They have so many attacking talents. Jadon Sancho, how could I forget? And that team could be really special in a few years. And Man U are looking very special right now. I'm scared of Man U right now, but I have to say, they've been very fun to watch. And then over in La Liga, Penal Madrid is back at it again. I mean, Real Madrid. Sorry. They've been winning every single game 1-0 on penalties. Sergio Ramos is the leading goal scorer since games came back, because he takes all the free kicks and penalties now. It's a weird world we're living in, but Real continue to be in the pockets of the referees, and they're starting to pull away a little bit in La Liga. Barcelona have been super stagnant since they came back, and then they did win today and looked pretty good, but I think that ground is just going to be a little bit too much to make up against Real Madrid. So it looks like Real Madrid are going to take home La Liga. Speaking of Real Madrid, I did want to throw out briefly this question of, who do you think are the Champions League favorites? Because Real Madrid are certainly on form right now. I just mentioned Manchester City and how it seems like that game against Liverpool would be a great tune-up for them. You've got Bayern, who just won the league. They actually won the double because they won the DFB Pokal Cup against Leverkusen over the weekend. They could be in the run for a treble, potentially. PSG looked really good before the shutdown, but obviously there's been no French league, so they will be super rusty. You have to imagine they won't be great. You got Atalanta as potentially a dark horse, and then you got Atletico Madrid, who it's pretty hard to count out in a knockout tournament where all they have to do now is win 4 games and they could win the Champions League title, because we know how Simeone operates. If you've made it this far, drop a comment on this video. Tell me, who are your Champions League favorites and why? To me, I'd actually have to say Bayern Munich are Champions League favorites. As much as I hate to admit it as an Arsenal fan, they have looked outstanding. And I watched a ton of the Bundesliga when that was the first league back, and they just seemed like they were zipping around on another level. They didn't lose a single step during lockdown. And to me, they have to be the favorites. But there's a lot of teams that'll be really gunning for it, and I can't wait to watch it. So yeah, hit on a lot of topics in this video. This is going to be kind of my new Monday routine. So if you liked this and you want to see more of it, smash that like button. Everybody who watched this video should be liking it. It would really help me out. It helps out the channel. It helps other people see this video who aren't subscribed. And it just shows me that y'all are appreciating what I'm doing, and it means a lot to me. So be sure to like the video. As I said before, be sure to subscribe to the channel. There's going to be a giveaway at 50 subs, so keep that number ticking upwards, and we'll get closer and closer to that. But yeah, appreciate everybody who watched the video, and I hope y'all have a great week. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.